Coping with COVID and In It Together SC present Wellness Wednesday, brought to you by the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina and DHEC's Division of Diabetes and Heart Disease Management.
Coping with COVID with Trey Taylor.
Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. I'm Trey Taylor, and every first Wednesday of each month, we have started a series. We did it last month, where we're helping you grow your own fruits and vegetables. It's grow at your home. Now, it has been such and we talked about this before. We're with Isha Kurtman and Joy Price. Isha is with the farmers.
Well, Richland County Master Gardeners
Richland County Master Gardeners Association, and Joy's with the SNAP Ed program at DHEC. And if you joined us last month, we talked about the fact that because of COVID, a lot of people really began becoming more and more interested in gardening. I'm gonna put my glasses on too. Everybody got the glasses on. People became more and more interested in gardening. And I think people realized, one, it wasn't as hard as they thought it would be. And there's a difference in food from the grocery store and food coming out of your garden.
Homegrown.
Yeah. It does taste better and it lasts longer.
It does.
And you know what the interesting thing is, I think you would think the other would last longer because of pesticides and stuff like that. But you don't know how long it's been in the grocery store.
You absolutely don't.
And then also how long it took to get there.
Right.
A lot of our produce comes from Mexico.
Right. That's kind of scary because every trip I've gone to Mexico, the first thing they tell you is don't drink the water.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Oh, my goodness. And it's the same water they're feeding the crops with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have different enzymes and whatnot that vary throughout the U.S. too.
But in Mexico, they build up a resistance for certain antibodies that we don't. So that, I talked to a young lady who can't eat tomatoes. She says it makes her knees hurt. So there's certain fruits and vegetables, people can't consume because of, not just because it's a tomato or a vegetable, but it's probably related to where it's grown to a certain extent too. There's, companies who do what they call, vegetable plant-based.
Well, a mushroom one. You said
the mushroom one, and then there's another company, compost company, actually in Elgin, that does plant-based. Well, not manure, but plant-based compost. Yeah. So what I have, I tried both. Two of my bins have chicken and two have cow. So I'm trying to see now which one. So far, the cow manure seems to be thriving for my cucumbers.
Really? Okay. So it may be that some vegetables do better in a certain type of manure.
I've never really checked it out, but that's something I will check out, after today and see. But I'm real pleased with overall, performance of all the plants so far. They're all thriving and getting enough water. But with a container garden, the one thing that you really need to remember is that you have to water every day, just about, especially when it's in this temperature of weather, because like you see those grow bags,
and we'll go over there.
They dry out pretty quickly. So I'm having to water every day.
Wow. We're talking to Isha Kurtman. She's with the Richland County Master Gardeners Association. Joy Price joins us with the SNAP Ed Department at SCDHEC. I'm Trey Taylor, and it's Wellness Wednesday. In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. This is part 2 of our monthly series on growing in your own home. And we are kind of going over what we talked about last month. What else did we talk about, Joy?
We also talked about droplet container gardens, different type of containers. And I just want to say, please reuse, recycle anything you have in your house.
Right.
There are coffee canisters, coffee mugs. Even when you do coffee mugs, make sure if you don't have anything to drain out, make sure you put a little rocks or
plastic baggie underneath. I do that. I cut the top off and just have it catching, water overflow, and that works great.
Yeah. So you make sure that you have some type of drainage system installed in the coffee mugs.
So that's just a matter of, for your point, putting rocks at the bottom of the cup container and then putting the soil or whatever, and then putting, whether it's a seed or a plant.
Yeah.
And Ish, you were saying, what put the plastic bags the same way or actually under the cup?
Actually, underneath, like if you, let's say you were using a cup, you could put a plastic baggie in there and then put the soil in the baggie. And also from the sweat, that'll kind of help keep it moist as well. But generally, you really want to, the best way is to have a container that has a hole in the bottom. And you still would use the rocks because sometimes water will settle in the bottom and not drain totally out. And the rocks help to distribute that water drainage so that you don't get root rot. Because a lot of times you'll be like, well, God, my plant is fine. I've been watering it. And you think that you haven't overwatered it, but you have. And then the plant,
Because the water can't go anywhere.
exactly. And then your roots are rotting because of, like you said, the water's not going.
Wow, yeah. That's an interesting point because you're right. I mean, they need water and you're giving them water and then they're still not doing well, but it's because the water has to drain. It's got to go somewhere.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. What else were you saying, Joy? So use what you have. Any kind of container is good. Reuse.
Please reuse, recycle. Also, to start your plants, Isha brought some really good egg cartons. Those work wonderful. If you get the paper ones, I guess, the ones that are like cottage style, you can just plop those in the ground.
Those are perfect.
Just plop
Because,
them
yeah,
down.
they're biodegradable. So, you put your seedling, your seed in there. You put your soil that is moist where if you were to squeeze it, it would be like, the water wouldn't drip out. It would be like a sponge type of texture to it. And you put that in the cups, put your seed in there, and then within 8 to 10 days, you have a pretty cute little seedling pop up out of the ground. But you're using things that you have, like Joy said, that you have in your home.
Right.
You're
Right.
upcycling what you have, and you're able to use it more than once.
Right. So it's no need to go out. I mean, if you want to, spend some money and get a bunch of pretty containers, you can, but you don't have to. Right. You don't have to. I've heard a lot of people saying, I'm going to get back to you in a minute, Joy, and both of you can answer this, but we'll get back to the recap because we're talking about containers. I want to mention containers. I've seen a lot online about not using the dollar store containers. Do you know anything about that or any of those toxic, like people
Have you
say?
heard? I think any kind of plastic may have a degree of toxicity to it, especially if it's not BPA or it doesn't have that triangle printed on it. But normally, because I have some plastic containers here like that one, I'm not putting my soil in the container. I'm just keeping the container that I'm getting from wherever I purchased the plant from. I leave it in there and then I sit it inside the container. So it has decorative features to it, but without putting it in, the actual plastic containers, because plastic is toxic too. And I don't know to what degree and what products, because, in California, they have Prop 65 and everything. There's so many things, even a handbag that you can buy at a store, they have to post that it could be toxic to you through Prop 65. So we're not regulated to that degree, to that extreme, but depending on if you're pregnant or not pregnant, or if you have high sensitivities to certain illnesses or whatever, plastic can be a problem.
Those of you who are dealing with diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, all of those, diseases. Yeah. This is something great that you can do because you're out there moving. And as you ladies say, you're moving every part of your body pretty much.
Mm-hmm. And that's the one for folks who are diabetics. If you move after a meal, you had maybe a carbohydrate high meal, it will help move that blood. Well, it will help move the sugar into your bloodstream and keep it out of going into your liver and you having to urinate it out. You want that blood to move into your muscles and move into those tissues and provide energy. So the more you move, the quicker that the insulin works and the quicker it gets that sugar into your body. Instead of just going into the void. So you want to keep moving, you want to eat very nutrient-dense vegetables.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about, and we talked about this too, what's good to grow right now. We're in South Carolina where it really doesn't get that hot. Not cold rather. It gets very hot, not that cold. So do we have 4 seasons of growing seasons, or are there just two growing seasons? What are the growing seasons?
So it's kind of like for South Carolina, we have mild weather and we have cold weather, and then we have hot.
Right.
Right now we're in the hot stage. So the good hot natured vegetables are our sweet potatoes. Those are good to go in the ground right now.
Sweet potatoes.
Okra, tomatoes. Excuse me. I'm thinking
Sweet potato, okra, tomatoes. That's what you can.
Cucumber,
Cucumber.
squash,
corn.
zucchini, corn.
All right. Wow. Squash, zucchini, corn, cucumber, sweet potatoes, tomatoes. All of those are things, and peppers that you can grow right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you sow them right now, most likely you'll probably get a yield starting in August. And you'll probably have maybe a month of cuttings from that. And so it will bring you into September, which is our mild months.
Right.
So you'll want to already have in ground starting in August, collards, the leafy greens.
Right, exactly. Because what they say, the rule of thumb is that, excuse me, you start sowing in February. After the last frost is when you really start germinating or planting your seeds. And then you have your spring crop, and then you'll have a summer crop, a fall crop, and a winter crop. And collards are really considered to be a cold weather
Okay. Crop.
yeah.
So seedlings, or and this is the other thing we talked about, seeds or the little what is it called? Seedlings or seeds.
Plant babies.
Yeah, plant babies. Which is best?
Well, my first year of gardening, which was 2 years ago, I spent a lot of money on buying seedlings from a local box store. This
Seedlings
year,
are just a little already kind of they're already starting to grow.
Exactly. This year, I germinated from seeds and I used grow lights. So the cucumber that you see over there came from seed. The tomatoes, I did probably, 45 tomato plants from seeds. And I germinated them and put them under the grow lights. And when they started getting little seedlings, I started in the egg carton. Then I moved them to a larger little pot. And then as they grow, the only downside to doing your own seeds is that there's a longer process of getting them ready to go in the ground, because you have to, what they call harden them, which means they have to get used to sunlight. That you can have, indirect sun, but before they can go in the ground, they need to be able to handle full sun. So when you buy a seedling, obviously you can just put it right there into the dirt. They've already gone through that process.
But when you buy a seed, let's talk a little bit about what you have to do before you put it in the ground or in a container.
All right. Well, what I think about when I was in the first grade, when they were showing us how to grow potatoes and beans. Bean was the first thing that I ever learned how to grow. And basically all I did was I triple layered paper towel. Then I poured the water on the paper towel to saturate the paper towel. And then I put my seeds, place them in there, space them apart on the wet paper towel. Because if you don't do that, then as they start to germinate and grow, the roots start to grow. They'll grow into each other. And then I place another triple layer of wet paper towel on top and make sure it stayed moist and in a dark place for like 10 days. And I was
inside the house.
Inside the house, because you want it to be in a warm place. You can't put it out on the porch if it's still cold outside.
Right. But if it is warm, can you take it outside?
Yes, you can. You just still has to be in a dark place.
Right. Warm, dark place, inside or out.
You're trying to imitate underground.
Underground, exactly.
Oh, okay. You're trying to imitate under warm, dark place. Yeah.
And then from there, I'm telling you, it's just an amazing thing, just how wonderful it is to know that you put your hands, you touch something, and you made it grow from a seed.
Yeah.
And in a few more weeks, you'll start to see the fruit on the tomato plants. And then in a couple more weeks, you'll be able to pick them. I mean, that's just the most wonderful thing. And I have this motto, and I don't know if anyone else uses it, but people say you are what you eat. But if you eat right, you think right. And if you think right, you live right. And it's really true. We are what we eat. What we consume and what we put in our body is a reflection of our health at that given moment.
Right. So how do you know after you put your seeds seeds in a warm, dark place. How do you know when they're ready? When you just see them sprouting?
Yes, once they start sprouting.
And how long a process is that typically?
Gosh, it depends on 10 days. It depends on what seed it is. Okay. But what you do is you go back and check it periodically because you want to make sure that the towel stays moist.
Okay, right. And if not, you need to continue
add more water. Yeah.
Does it matter what kind of water?
Yes, it does. Do not use bottled water. Okay. There's certain chlorine and things. The water is treated with certain things are not good for plants. Okay. So, because at one point,
just tap water?
Tap water is the best. Just use tap water, not distilled water, not purified water, and not bottled water. Tap water.
Now, what happens if you get like mosey? Like if there's not enough air circulation going on?
Well, you might get some moldy if you're using dirt to germinate, but with the paper towel method, I have not experienced any mold whatsoever. Okay. But with the whole water situation, when you're going back and forth and checking it, you're lifting that paper towel up to see if they sprouted yet or not. And when you see them sprout, you're going to be really excited. Yeah. And then you transfer them to dirt. Okay.
And if we're talking about container gardening, so you just put, how many seeds do you put in a container?
I went overboard. One packet of seeds is probably 18 to 24 seeds for $2. Let's say that. This is just hypothetically $2. Well, if you go to a box store, you can pay almost $5 for one seedling. Mm-hmm. So I grew 3 packs of tomatoes of different types, 18 of them. So like I said, I went overboard.
How many did you put in each container, though? Did you put all 18 in one container?
Just one.
Oh, okay.
You have to, at that point, once they're ready to go into a dirt container, 1 seed per container. 1 seed per container. We're talking about container gardening and kind of going over not only some things that we talked about last month, but some new things. I'm Trey Taylor, and Isha Curtin joins us from the Richland County Master Gardeners Association. Joy Price also joins us from DHEC SNAP Ed Department.
Hello, I'm Carolyn Sawyer, an entrepreneur and caregiver. Part of taking care of your health is knowing if you're at risk of type 2 diabetes. Prediabetes is serious and puts you at risk for developing type 2 diabetes. Up to 90% of South Carolinians who have it don't know they have it. Visit inittogethersc.org. Take an online test to find out your risk and join a diabetes prevention program. This message brought to you by the Diabetes Action Council of SC.
Computers, they're a part of our everyday life, but when they're not working, they're an everyday problem. So call Computers Unique, your everyday solution. 803-351-5821. Is your computer running slow? Won't turn on? Do you need a screen replaced? Or maybe you just need another computer? Well, Computers Unique is your one-stop shop for all your computer needs. They have a wide variety of new and pre-owned PCs, Macs, and tablets. So call Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. 803-351-5821. 803-351-5821.
Hi, I'm Master Deputy Addie Perez with the Richland County Sheriff's Department Community Action Team. As a mother, I know it's important to take care of my health for those I care about. Part of doing that is knowing my risk for developing type 2 diabetes. So if I was you, I'll take the opportunity to visit inittogethersc.org and take an online test to find out if you have prediabetes. Again, the website is inittogethersc.org. This message is brought to you by the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina.
In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID with Trey Taylor. I'm Trey Taylor. We're back here in front of the DHEC Garden. We were here a couple of months ago when Joy showed us the very beginnings of it, and she joins us again from the DHEC Garden. You can see all of the great stuff that they've gotten from the garden already, and we'll talk a little bit about that in just a minute. Shanae Galloway joins us. She is a Master Gardener intern. Good luck, congratulations. Thank you. Let me ask you why you were interested in being a Master Gardener. Who wants to do that?
Well, I'm a bit of a nerd. I was a biology undergrad major and just love nature in general. Yeah. But I went on a trip to Italy and came back and was super sad. And so I tried to recreate what I saw in my backyard. So I started with sunflowers and I got an olive tree and grapevines. Wow. And then it just exploded from there. And I went to the Sandhill Market and saw some Master Gardeners, and they gave me a soil sample bag. And so I started digging into it. And then I met another lady who was a Master Gardener. and she told me so much about it, and I was like, I want to do this.
Yeah,
so
yeah. Well,
super
thank you
excited.
so much for joining us. Good luck on your journey.
Thank you.
Okay, so Joy, tell us first what you guys planted. Just kind of do a wrap, kind of a review of what you planted in the DHEC garden.
So we have several variations of squash. We have butternut squash, zucchini squash, as well as straight neck yellow squash. And we also have some tomatoes, 2 types of those. We have the regular heirloom ones, and then we also
Are these
have,
some of these?
oh yeah, those are there. And then we have some cherry sun gold ones. So instead of turning, instead of turning a nice red color, they turn a bit yellow, like this.
Okay.
And we're also doing several peppers. So we have some hot peppers, some jalapeno hot peppers, and jalapenos. And we have some bell peppers.
Bell pepper. Oh, you got the bell pepper.
And then we also have eggplant. And then on
You're too young to know that.
What? No. Oh, I'm an old soul.
Okay. So got to be older than you. And you board Ring My Bell. Let's do a trivia contest about when that came out.
10 years. No, 10 years before I was born, probably. I don't know.
How old are you when were you born?
95.
Oh, girl.
95? Were you really?
Yeah.
Jesus. I thought we were the same age, too.
God. A little bit young.
Oh, man, you are a baby.
And okra.
Okra.
Right.
That's what I forgot. Okra. And so, yeah, we got a good harvest. And we're donating this. This is our second donation to Palmetto Place over our Colonial.
Great. So our first segment for this episode of our In It Together Wellness Wednesday from In It Together and the Diabetes Action Council, we were actually talking with Joy, Isha, not Joy, Isha, about some soil and stuff like that. So let's continue that conversation because that's what we're talking about today.
Okay, so for in-ground planting, a lot of times you want to get a soil test first.
Soil test. And this is even if you are planting in your backyard.
Right.
Okay.
Even if you're planting in your backyard, sometimes the county will have information on what type of soil you have and what you need to put into your soil.
So what type of soil do you need typically in backyard soil? Does it usually need something?
Yes. So a lot of times with backyard soil, you got that topsoil and it doesn't have really a lot of nutrients.
Okay.
So most of that nutrients is probably a little bit 3 feet down. And so it's a little bit sandier, it's a little bit clayier, and you don't get a lot of growth from that. So sometimes you add in the things that you need. So with the soil test, what we found out is a pH. So whether your soil is acidic, whether your soil is basic, and typically soil won't range out of 7, go up above a 7, and it won't go below a 4.
So 7 to 4, is that where you want your soil, or is that not a good place to have your soil?
It's all dependent upon what you want to do.
Oh, wow.
So for if you're doing a basic soil, usually a good bit of tomatoes grow there. And that's because of nitrogen fixing. And that's another word that I'm going to bring up furthermore. Because when it comes to anything in the nightshade family, so our eggplants, our tomatoes, and our peppers, those are going to take up a lot of nitrogen from the soil. So in that soil test, they're also going to see how much nitrogen's in your soil. It's going to see the phosphorus levels, the potassium levels, all those little macro. Right, those big nutrients and little nutrients are going to be told to you in that soil test.
So let me stop you here. Where do you call, or who do you call to get a soil test, and does that cost?
Okay, yeah, typically it does cost. Since COVID, I think the cost went up to $10.
Oh, that's not bad. So $10, yeah. I just want, because people want, obviously, they're doing this for economical reasons, natural reasons. So I just want to make sure it is a cost that someone can afford. So $10, and then who do you call? Clemson Extension?
Clemson Extension.
So you say, hey, I want to plant a garden in my backyard. Can you come out and do a soil test?
Well,
actually, you
you do
bring the soil to the extension office. If you go to one of the booths, there's little bags that they'll give you. But otherwise, you can just bring it in a Ziploc bag, make sure it's sealed and label where you got it from. You're going to take a couple different samples. If it's a specific garden bed, you just need a couple samples. If you're doing your whole yard, a couple different spots in your yard. Maybe 4 corners, one in the center. Put all of that in the bag, and then you bring that to the extension office. We'll process it, and then we'll ship it off to Clemson. They do the testing, and then they will email you the results back. If you have questions about your results, you can call the extension office or the lab itself and ask them. But they have a summary of your results, so they can tell you what you need based on the results that they gave you.
Awesome. In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council present Wellness Wednesday. Every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. I'm Trey Taylor. We're here with Janae Galloway. She is a Master Gardener intern, and Joy Price with DHEC. We have been doing this series, as you can hear, the animals in the background. Grow at home, and we're getting you ready for your at-home garden, getting you ready for what your soil needs to be for you to grow. Now, you mentioned, Joy, that you need certain types of soil to plant certain types of things. So when you go to Clemson with your soil, do you tell them I want to plant X, Y, Z, and they'll tell you what your soil is good for?
Yeah, and they'll also tell you the amendments you need to add in.
Okay.
And so, like she was saying, the analysis will detail you on what's missing.
Okay.
And so in our garden, we added a bit of worm castings. And the worm castings itself is just a natural fertilizer that kind of adds back in a good bit of nutrients, kind of like the potassium and the phosphorus. But it doesn't add all the nutrients in. I also put down some lime. Lime is going to lower the pH and make it more basic. And I'm trying to figure out.
Now, where do you get this? Peat moss, okay. Where do you get this? Do you go to a nursery? Oh, okay. You just go.
I go to Lowe's.
Okay.
I go to Home Depot.
So this
any
is
place
stuff,
that you can. Woodley,
is good.
any type of nursery is good.
Okay.
We don't endorse any specifics here.
Yeah.
Yeah. No endorsements.
Someone is talking off camera like she's the voice of God.
Yeah, not sponsored or anything, but
yeah. But just go to any nursery. Wherever you can get your soil, you can also get the nutrients to put back into the soil. Right. Okay. All right. And again, Clemson will let you know you need X, Y, Z. Okay. All right. Great.
And then for plants and whatnot, typically when you get your stuff from the big corporate places, they won't necessarily have all of the additives you need in there. When you go to nurseries, they'll make sure you have enough food and nutrients for your plant to last 6 months.
Oh, that's good.
Out of purchasing.
So you would suggest maybe a nursery, because a nursery specializes in plants. You know, a nursery would probably be your better bet to get your nutrients. Okay.
Provide some of the all-in-one fertilizers, amendments, and then they have some of the individual, like just phosphorus or just the nitrogen. So you can pick and choose what you need, or you can get an all-in-one if that's easier.
Awesome. All right, so we've got our soil tested. We find out what we need in our soil. We've gone to the nursery. We've got what we need. What do we do next?
We plant.
We plant.
So once we plant everything, you probably see in the area the different type of animals that may come up, or the different type of insects that may come up. So you might have an ant problem in your yard, and you might have.
And that's not good.
No, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay, because ants are pollinators, so they are friends.
Ants are your friends. That answer doesn't matter.
Well, fire ants is a little different.
Fire ants, but fire ants typically do like our vegetable gardens. So it's a part of the landscape.
Okay,
we're in their world.
Yes, we are.
Right, and sometimes with ants, you just gotta dust them off. But ants are good, so we want to keep them in the garden, because with our squashes and whatnot, they do not self-pollinate. They need help.
Well, I want to ask you 2 questions right here. When we are making a decision as to where to plant in our garden based on what our soil looks like, where does the sun need to be? Does the sun need to be coming toward the garden or away from the garden? I'll tell you, because we've got a garden in my community, and I've got more sun in my backyard than my girlfriend across the street.
Right.
So the garden's in my backyard.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So obviously you need to be in a sunny area.
Yeah. Well, some plants will need full sun, like our tomatoes,
Okay.
or those that are
so
in the
some.
niche.
Mhm.
But then there are typically some that doesn't need a lot of shade. So usually the lettuce variety, the leafy varieties, they are not going to need as much sun.
Okay.
And then also you don't want to do lettuce too late into the year
Yeah.
because you're not going to get
Temperature.
anything. Yeah. So when it comes to sun all throughout, you want the sun to be able to rise
Mhm.
and then fall, and your garden still have sun.
Right.
If you have the full sun plants. So if usually the sun rises in the east, goes in the west.
Usually.
So, yeah, usually.
In the normal world.
In the normal world, if you live in a different dimension.
Right.
And so you're gonna want to place your garden kind of like as a compass, where it basically has full coverage from east to west.
Okay. All right. Great. Joy Price and Shanae Calloway join us. I'm Trey Taylor. In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. We've been talking about grow at home, giving you ways and examples and tips and information for you to grow your own garden. All right. So we're planting, and what do you plant when? Like some things you plant in the summer. So what right now, 2 days into summer, do we?
2 days into summer. So okra.
And it's been 100 degrees for a whole week.
The whole
Right.
month it feels like.
Yeah.
So typically in the summertime, you're gonna want to put some eggplants in the ground. You want to
Eggplant.
put tomatoes or brown cherries, okra, all your peppers. But also, as we're heading into July, you want to start indoors with your lettuce varieties and your kale varieties.
All right. So indoor, and of course we talked about earlier with Isha, we can do seedlings. So inside, go ahead and do your kale, your lettuce, but outside you can do
Eggplants, tomatoes, okra, squash.
Yeah. Right now.
I think that's it. Sunflowers also do really.
Sunflowers.
Zinnias, marigolds.
Yeah, a lot of the annuals you can go ahead and put in the ground now, the ones that are being sold in big box stores and nurseries, but they're good for now. And then anything that is not really good for hot climate, if you have a shady area, it will be okay. I still have pansies and violas right under my deck, and so because it's shaded and I have sunflowers on top of that and they provide a lot of shade, they're still doing fine and still proliferating. So
well, you make a great point, because I know again when we worked on my garden, we had 2 beds, and then we had flowers in the middle for pollination.
Right.
So is that important? Do you need to have a flower bed someplace around where your plants are?
So yeah,
it's helpful. Definitely.
it's very helpful. Like with sunflowers are attract
all the pollinators.
Really?
Right.
Oh
Okay.
yes.
They attract every single one of them, but they also attract things that eat aphids.
What does that mean? Nobody knows what
Aphids.
aphids is.
So aphids is the worst pest for your garden.
And they are what?
They're little bugs that eat
Oh, so it's actually a
insects.
called an aphid.
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 Or is it a family of insects?
No,
No, the aphid is the specific species, but
Okay.
it does fall under another family.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
They are sapsuckers.
Yeah.
no.
Nobody wants to be around a sapsucker,
No.
whether it's an insect or a person.
By any means.
I digress. Though. Yeah.
And so the birds will come and peck away at the aphids that are on the plants. So with the tomatoes, aphids love tomato leaves. They love any peppers. They love everything.
Your roses.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And you want to get them out. If you physically can go in and pick them out, you can do so. But typically they'll have little eggs on your plant. I don't know if you can see that,
Yeah.
but they're little black
Yeah, I can see. Yeah.
little black eggs on there, and they typically will hatch their larvae, and so the little larvae will go around and eat everything along with the mommy aphids, and they will eat as well. So
Well, I want to come back maybe next month or another month and do a segment on how to control pests
in your garden.
Thank you so much for joining us for the award-winning Coping with COVID and Coping with Trey Taylor. I'm Trey Taylor. Listen, if you have a story or initiative that could help someone cope with COVID, please email booking@copingwithtreytaylor.com. If you have a product or service that could help someone cope with COVID, please email copingwithtreytaylor@gmail.com. We would love for you to be a proud sponsor, just like In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council. They sponsor Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. Our other sponsors include Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall, Palmetto Media Connections, the Comet Bus System, Agape Counseling and Training Services, and Black Pages, Black Expo. Listen, as always, we leave you with a reading. We've been reading this year Conversations with God from Cheryl Mims Williams. This is a great book that includes some of her journal writings and some of her some scriptural readings. This chapter is called Thank You. And I'm just going to read some things that we can thank God for just throughout the day. Thank you for your strength in Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit. Thank you for opening my heart and mind to your word. Thank you for listening ears that I might hear every word you speak. Thank you for clarity on my mission, my ministry, and my calling. Thank you for making my load and burden lighter. Thank you because you have fallen and doesn't mean that you are a failure. These are things we can just thank God for throughout the day. Have you ever thought about just taking the time, maybe once an hour, starting the hour with, God, I thank you for ... whatever. That'll make your day go so much better. You make our day here at Coping and Taylor Made Productions so much better. We appreciate you watching and for listening and for supporting and for commenting and for liking and for posting and for sharing. We appreciate you. All right. Until the next time, I wish you peace and abundant blessings. Take care. God bless. Stay well. And don't forget to wear your mask over your nose and under your chin. We'll see you soon.
Coping, find peace of mind to survive through whatever. Coping, learning the way that we thrive all together. Coping, finding out what's real. Coping, we can heal, we can heal, we can heal. Coping with stress, coping with strife, bringing hope for success, for improving our life. Coping beyond hoping to do more than survive. Ways to live a healthy life. Coping and promoting, learning what you can do. 6 ways to a better you.